You're listening to the Pace Radio Network here at paceradio.net.
The views expressed by the individuals during this broadcast are their own opinions, and they may not be the same as those of their group or other organizations they may be involved with.
All medical advice during our broadcast is not a medical opinion and should be checked with your medical physician.
Oh yeah, baby, that's lovely.
Good morning, it's August the 13th, and welcome to Psychedelics Cannabis Educational News. I'm live here at paceradio.net and at 420pace.ca. Rev Cindy is off until the end of September. So it's just me for now, and I will have the guest host through the upcoming weeks while Cindy is away. So today I got news stories from Canada, Ontario, where I'm at, Mexico, Australia. I've got psychedelics as well as cannabis news. So stick around and maybe you'll pick something up. You can help somebody in your neighborhood or in your area. Who knows? All right, here we go. First story of the day. This one comes to me from Marijuana Moment. Headline says medical marijuana effectively treats pain with terpenoids being more influential than THC or CBD, according to a study. Medical cannabis has genuine therapeutic effects for pain management, and the degree of relief provided by cannabis can be predicted by their specific chemical profile, including not only cannabinoids but also crucial terpenoids. I was going to call them terpenes. According to a newly published study employing machine learning methods, it's a conclusion that researchers say provides evidence for compound-specific therapeutic effects. These results highlight the importance of considering the full range of cannabis compounds when developing more precise and effectively cannabis-based therapies for pain management, the report says. It also furthers the notion that at least some combination of the many compounds in cannabis work in concert to provide heightened relief, a concept known as the entourage effect. An underlying goal of the research was contribute to the ongoing specific debate whether cannabis truly reduces pain or if patients feel better simply because they expect it to work, which is the placebo effect. This is according to the authors. Now, to do that, they looked at 329 medical cannabis patients and analyzed the chemical makeup of the products they used. The report says, we found that the patient's pain improvement could be predicted from the chemical content of their cannabis, even though patients didn't know what chemicals they were receiving. This suggests that cannabis provides a real pain relief beyond just patients' expectations. One notable finding in the new research is that primary cannabinoids, THC and CBD, offer only limited predictive value of a product's pain relieving effort. Other minor bolo and there's one I can't even pronounce, instead emerged as key predictors of treatment response. See, those two, I've never heard of them. Bisabolo and eucalypto or something. Now, an unexpected finding was the relatively minimal impact of well-known cannabinoids such as THC and CBD for pain relief outcomes, which stands in contrast to popular relief in previous reports. While THC and CBD are often highlighted for their therapeutic potential, their analysis revealed other compounds, including the two that I can't even pronounce, as more influential in the context of pain relief. This is according to what the study says. As for the entourage effect, the report suggests that specific combinations of compounds work better at managing pain than individual chemical compounds. The complex relationship we observed between cannabis composition and pain relief helps explain why previous studies focusing on individual compounds have often showed mixed results, according to the report. Our analysis suggests that the therapeutic effects emerge from specific combinations of compounds working in concert rather than from any single component. This complexity in medical cannabis mechanism of action emphasizes the importance of considering the full chemical profile when investigating cannabis therapeutic properties. Now, overall, the researchers, which is a 6-person team from Technon Israel Institute of Technology in Haifa, Israel, said the findings also provide further evidence of medical cannabis analytic properties. The fact that treatment outcomes were predictable from chemical composition supports the growing body of evidence for genuine pharmacological analgesia that they wrote, while acknowledging that expectations and context effects also contribute to therapeutic outcomes in clinical practice. The new paper contributes to a growing body of research supporting the use of cannabis as treatment for pain. For example, a study published recently in the journal Pharmacy found that patients with chronic pain who used cannabis for at least 1 year exhibited significantly lower healthcare utilization compared to non-users, reporting fewer visits to urgent care and emergency departments, as well as higher quality of life. Hospitalizations rates were also lower among chronic pain patients who used cannabis, the report found, though not enough to be statistically efficient. Exposure to cannabis was associated with a 2 percentage point reduction in urgent care visits, a 3.2 percentage point reduction in emergency department visits, and fewer unhealthy days per month, according to the report, and the authored by the report researchers at the Miami-based cannabis telehealth company Leafwell and George Mason University in Virginia. The findings of this study suggest, in line with existing research, that medical cannabis is likely an effective treatment option for patients with chronic pain, the authors wrote. It underscores the potential for not only quality of life gains associated with medical cannabis use, but also positive downstream effects on the healthcare system resulting from treatment. Now, another study published earlier this year found that more than 8 in 10 patients who used medical cannabis reported it to be a useful tool for pain management. Now, published in May in the journal Cirrus, the report stemmed from a survey of 129 people who were medical cannabis patients in Pennsylvania. Between October 22 and December 24, it said it provides important insights into the real-world patterns, perceived efficacy, and cognitive effects of medical cannabis use among individuals with chronic musculoskeletal pain who employ cannabis regularly over extended periods. Over 80% of the patients who turned to medical cannabis found it effective for managing their pain, co-author Mohammed Kak, a researcher at the Rothman Opioid Foundation, said in the press release. So I'm not even halfway through the story, but I think I got the gist of the headline there. And yeah, cannabis, yet again, proven again, is good for pain. As you know, I don't need to tell you that. Everybody already knows that now. But you know, to get the research, bring it up, show it to the people who still don't get it, and however we can provide that for them, we shall do that. All right, on to my next story, and I just got to find it here on the list. Here we go. Okay, and on this one, this is coming to me from Filter Mag. It says federal judge rules psilocybin church religious rights case can proceed. A federal judge has ruled that the Utah-based faith group that uses psilocybin mushrooms as sacrament can move forward with its religious rights lawsuit against local officials. On August the 4th, Judge Jill Parrish of the United States District Court of the District of Utah rejected a motion to dismiss the lawsuit and ordered authorities to suspend criminal prosecution against Singularism Spiritual Center and its founder, Brigadier Jensen, while the case is ongoing. Jensen opened the small spiritual center in Provo in 2023. She guides supervised voyages using psilocybin tea, with none of the psilocybin being consumed or stored outside the facility. I wouldn't call Singularism a congregation, Jensen told Filter. I'm very influenced by my psychotherapy background. It's more individual ceremonies. In each ceremony, he explained, the voyager is guided by a supervisor as well as a practitioner who serves the tea. He described the practitioners as essentially trained clergymen. When Singularism first opened its door, Jensen reached out to the county prosecutor, the police chief, and the mayor, explaining the nature of his work and inviting them for a tour. He says, I believed we were in the bounds of the law and the Constitution, he says. I wanted to open a dialogue with them to see how we could operate under RFA protection. No one took him up on his offer. But a year and a half later, Jensen was getting out of his car one day and suddenly found himself surrounded by a SWAT team. They raided our treatment center, took our mushrooms, detained me, he says. They sent threatening letters to our landlords saying we were a public nuisance and danger to the community. Jensen sued. Utah had passed its Religious Freedom Restoration Act in 2024, stating that a government entity may not substantially burden the free exercise of religion. Jensen alleged that the law enforcement had violated Singularism's right to religious expression, which is protected under the First Amendment, and it also violated the state RFRA. He told Filter that this is the first case to cite the RFRA as a legal defense. The county had requested that the suit be thrown out, but that request has now been dismissed by Judge Parrish, following the preliminary injunction she had granted Singularism in March. Now, according to the ruling, the prosecution has brought in bad faith as part of the larger effort to harass plaintiffs for the ethnogenetic religious practices and in hopes of giving the government a second opportunity to litigate the free exercise issues presented entirely in this case. Now, the prosecution has already caused Singularism to lose many of its practitioners and affiliates, and forcing plaintiffs to wait until the conclusion of the criminal proceedings to secure their free exercise rights would be the equivalent of issuing a death warrant for their nascent religion. The Utah RFA is modeled after the federal version signed in law by the then President Bill Clinton in 1993. The law was a response to another legal case involving psychedelics, Employment Division versus Smith, which was filed after a rehab facility fired 2 members of the Native American Church for using peyote, a psychedelic component of their religious ceremonies. And the state of Oregon subsequently denied them unemployment. The Supreme Court ruled against them. Public outcry over the Supreme Court's decision led to the federal RFRA, but in 1997, the Supreme Court dealt the law a substantial blow with its decision in City of Bourne versus Flores, when it concluded that the law could not be applied to the state level. As a result, dozens of states have since passed their own RFRA equivalent. So there you go. Well, hopefully they get a good verdict in this, and they can continue using their sacrament for their religious purposes. So if I see an update on that, I'll make sure that I get it out. Alrighty, gonna move on to the next story. And this one is coming to you, well, to all of us, from StratCan. And the headline, come on. I'm just waiting for it to appear. There we go. Headline says pre-rolls surge, vapes shift, and a local grown lags in the Ontario retail. As summer continues in Ontario, cannabis retailers are navigating an increasing complex retail landscape shaped by focusing or shifting consumer habits, government promotions, and the ever-present competition from the illicit market. To get a pulse on what's trending in store, StratCan spoke with retailers, Sessions, Vardy Cannabis, 1922, and Pops Cannabis to understand what Ontario shoppers are reaching for this season, and what's not resonating, what don't people want. While the Ontario Cannabis Store launched its summer promotion aimed at boosting pre-roll sales and undercutting the illicit market, retailers are split on its effectiveness. Daryl Allen, president and CEO of Sessions Canada, described the rollout as inconsistent and ultimately unhelpful. OCF's original sales pitch to retailers changed drastically by the time launch came. It went from an equal price drop across the board to each SKU being unique. We chose not to participate in the end. Paul McGovern of Vardy Cannabis shared that skepticism. We chose not to participate in the pre-roll campaign, he says. I predict that there will be a little change in sales from the very small savings afforded by this promotion. He called it a move that puts unnecessary added pressure on already thin margins. But Pedro Correa, store manager at Pops Cannabis in Mississauga, sees it differently. I think it's very beneficial, specifically to retailers, because the wholesale price has gone down. So retailers are able to make some more money, which helps because things are really tight, he explained. I've been excited about it and doubling down on some more pre-rolls and investing heavily, as that is our largest category at my store. I really leaned into it. I don't think it's translated to the consumer, but I think it's been effective for the industry. Now, Mike Dunn, founder of 1922 Cannabis, takes a middle view. He says, any effort to drive attention or bring energy to the retail channel is welcome, but I don't believe it's had a noticeable impact on sell-through yet. He believes that the real opportunity lies in more collaborative, execution-focused programs that help operators convert traffic, not just shift inventory. Despite mixed reviews on the OCS promotion, pre-rolls remain a powerhouse category and are evolving quickly. Allen noted that the infused pre-rolls are growing the overall pre-roll category and sees continued innovation ahead as flower consumption patterns shift. Korea also sees strong movement in infused products, but adds another observation. Smaller size pre-rolls are starting to do well. If you want a smaller joint, you smoke it for 10, maybe 15 minutes and you're good. Most people who buy pre-rolls are not looking for 1 gram. I don't know about you guys, but I don't know. I've had the odd time I've looked to find out how much my joints weigh, and maybe like three quarters of a gram. But they're talking half-gram joints here, and my joints don't last 15 minutes. I don't know whose do, but I know mine don't. He says his store sells 4 times more pre-rolls than flowers, a striking indicator on how dominant the category has become in some markets. A big uptake in infused pre-rolls. A lot of people are liking the infused, he adds. McGovern, while still focused largely on whole flower, acknowledges that the growing appeal of largely multi-pack pre-rolls alongside the 7-gram or larger flower offerings. Dunn described pre-rolls as impulse-driven and fun, noting that they are his #1 category for units sold, especially in delivery. I think I know why, and they're probably going to get to that. Even with pre-roll innovation, traditional flower continues to command a loyal following. Flower is still king, yes, McGovern says. The biggest consumers of this plant don't reach for pre-rolls and probably never will. They reach for a big bag of flower, he says. Dunn agrees that flower remains dominant, but sees vapes steadily gaining ground, with concentrations have been slower to catch on. It's not for lack of trying. It's just that consumer demand hasn't matured at the same pace, he says, although formats like dabs to go may start to shift that. One area where consumer preference is clear is vaping, particularly in the shift from 510 cartridges to disposable, all in one unit. McGovern admits his store was initially reluctant to stock disposables due to environmental concerns, but eventually responded to demand, introducing a recycling initiative for consumers. Good. Now, Korea sees the shift even more sharply. With regards to vapes, the 510 carts are going down, and the disposables are going up significantly because of convenience. And I'm going to say that's not only in vapes, but that also comes with the pre-rolls. Convenience, easy, it's done. It's not where you have to pre-roll before you go or try to roll when you're someplace where there's a storm or anything like that. And it's convenient and easier. So it says anything smoking related, the less maintenance, the better. You have to carry, with the 510s, you have to carry your battery and make sure you don't lose it and make sure it's charged. But with disposable, you smoke it and you throw it out. But I'm also going to add in here that you can lose your disposable just as easy as you can lose your battery. Now, Dunn agrees convenience is winning. I agree, saying it lowers the barrier to entry and simplifies the value prop. It's the clear growth area. Now, the OCS has been promoting Ontario-grown cannabis this summer. I don't watch regular television, but I'm not seeing it on the stuff I'm watching. So, yeah, it says, but most retailers aren't seeing strong consumers' interest yet. No, currently we have not had any specific requests for local grown or Ontario grown cannabis, McGovern says. Customers are happy that everything is produced in Canada and seems to care less about where in the country the products come from. Now, Korea echoes this sentiment, saying, I haven't had a single person ask if it's grown in Ontario. People are not seeking that yet. And also, Ontario isn't really known for cannabis. We're not really one of those places that is known for cultivating cannabis like the way BC is. Dunn agrees that the idea is good in theory, but underdeveloped in practice, noting that consumer exposure to the local grown badge is still minimal. There are numbers to, as far as in another report that just came out on the Ontario end of things, and the numbers of licensed producers, the numbers of employees, and so on and so forth. And Ontario has a third of all the employees in Canada when it comes to cannabis. So there is a heavy presence of production here, but everybody thinks BC, right, when it comes to cannabis. Beneath the product trend, structural challenges continue to frustrate retailers, they say. Allen and McGovern both highlight what they see as inadequate enforcement against illicit operators. Health Canada and provincial regulators continue to chase legal companies and anyone who plays by the rules while ignoring everyone who doesn't. Dunn believes the bigger story is about evolving customer expectations. We're seeing more friction in loyalty, more sensitivity to UX, and more demand for brands to earn every dollar with real value. Discounting is table stakes now. Execution is a differentiator. Ontario cannabis retail market is adapting to meet evolving consumer preferences, from infused and smaller pre-rolls to the rise of disposables and continued demand for high-quality flower. Yet the industry is still hampered by systematic challenges, from regulatory enforcement gaps to uneven promotional strategies. Retailers like Korea, Allen, McGovern, Dunn are all finding ways to navigate this environment, leaning into convenience, value, and innovation where they can. But for the legal market to grow meaningfully, both government and industry stakeholders will need to address the deeper issues that keep margins thin and consumers disengaged. For now, the message from the front lines is clear. Listen to consumers, adapt quickly, and be ready to compete on quality and execution. And I would suggest that maybe they take a look at Owen Smith's article. I find Owen Smith's article on the legalizers about the cannabis end of things and the things that the regulators and the business people are saying. And he has some counter viewpoints to all that. Just so you know, Owen's article can be found on Psychedelics and Cannabis Educational News Facebook page. And last night, Tamara and I, we went through it on the Pace Radio Show. If you want to check that out, and I think we got to that. We got to that actually before the first break, so probably about 20 minutes into the show. We reviewed it all and went over things. So check it out. All right, going on to the last story before I head to break, and we're going to head to Australia on this one, because down in Australia, according to the Hemp Gazette, says that Australian medical cannabis consultation kicks off. Australia's Therapeutic Goods Administration, the TGA, has released a public consultation paper through which it will gather feedback on experiences, observations, and knowledge of the use of unimproved medical cannabis products. Last week, we reported, this is the Hemp Gazette, the TGA would be launching a public consultation after increasing concerns in the healthcare and general community about the risks associated with such products. The consultation paper was launched this week, focusing on whether there is sufficient regulatory oversight of unimproved medical cannabis products assessed legally through Australia's Special Access Scheme and Authorized Practitioner Scheme, and their safety risks, particularly with high-potency THC products. The TGA is not intending to remove access to medical cannabis products, says the consultation paper. Rather, we aim to ensure that products being supplied are of appropriate quality, there is confidence in the level of safety, efficiency, and performance, and further evidence is being generated to support legitimate use as a therapeutic good. Feedback from the consultation will inform options for future amendments to regulatory framework, but further consultation with stakeholders will be undertaken for any proposed reforms before they are implemented. And the Australian Medical Association has welcomed the consultation. They say, according to the president, Daniel McGowan, clearly the health landscape has changed dramatically in Australia. So it is vital we look at our regulatory settings and find out what needs to be done to address any gaps, including in the medicinal cannabis space. Now, the AMA is also concerned about unimproved medicinal cannabis products being prescribed at alarming rates through direct-to-consumer telehealth models. Telehealth is an important mechanism to improve access to health services, but these direct-to-consumer single-issue models lack clear referral pathways or a feedback loop to GPs, and as the TGA has acknowledged, this requires much broader consideration by the government, says Dr. McMullen. Telehealth's impact also isn't covered in the TGA consultation, as that is beyond the administration's scope. Now, feedback can be provided by going to their website. There's a form, there's a link there. And you can find that at Psychedelics and Cannabis Education News Facebook page. And it's due by 5 p.m. Tuesday, October the 7th. So just before Thanksgiving here in Canada. And note that submissions will be published on the TGA's website unless marked confidential. So there you go. If you want, don't mark it confidential. And everybody else who's checking out the information will be able to read your comments. And maybe that encourages them to also write as well. All right. Time for me to medicate, and I'll be right back. You're watching Psychedelics and Cannabis Educational News live here at paceradio.net and 420 Pace.
You're listening to the Pace Radio Network here at paceradio.net.
Limestone City Hydroponics is Kingston, Ontario's hydroponics shop. Take your growing to the next level and create the optimal environment with a tent kit, or maximize your yield with an ebb and flow flood table kit. Either way, Limestone City Hydroponics has more sizes and options to fit your needs. Are you looking for the power of the sun that adapts to your budget? Then look no further, as they have professional grow lighting. They have indoor grow systems that are easy and cost effective, with many options to fit your living space and lifestyle. Cultivate your growing potential. We have everything you need to succeed. And if you can't make it to the store, they offer local delivery to the greater Kingston area. Remember, when you're looking for experts to help you grow, then look no further than the locally owned Limestone City Hydroponics, 105 Sunderland Drive in Kingston, Ontario. Call them at 613-548-0420.
Are you looking to get your medical cannabis grow license? Limestone City Hydroponics can help patients through the process of obtaining their license to grow medical cannabis. What's that? You don't have a doctor? If you meet the medical criteria, Limestone City Hydroponics has a nurse practitioner who can assess and provide medical cannabis prescriptions. What are you waiting for? Contact Limestone City Hydroponics at limestonecityhydroponics.ca or call them at 613-548-0420.
What do you find at paceradio.net? People advocating cannabis education.
Enjoy the buzz of legalization with Campbellford Lifestyle Shop. From lights to plant nutrients, books, consumption accessories, and more, we've got all your basics to grow or consume cannabis. Visit our info center or take a look at our piercing services and body jewelry, now available in-store through Campbellford Lifestyle Shop, 17 Bridge Street West, Campbellford.
Rerolled Saturdays. Check it out. Nothing but non-stop cannabis and psychedelic programming. Find it at 420pace.ca.
You're listening to the Pace Radio Network here at paceradio.net.
Hey, you're watching Psychedelics and Cannabis Educational News, and here's hoping that you're having an awesome day, just as Steve was singing there. All right, I got 4 more stories to cover before we're all done, and here's the first one. This comes to me from thegreenstate.com. Headline says, Trump finally breaks silence on cannabis reform. Hints decision is coming. Since taking office in January, President Trump has remained silent on the issue of cannabis reform. This comes despite campaign trail comments expressing favorable views of changing federal policy, while many people have speculated on whether or not Trump will indeed reclassify the plant. The president finally broke his silence at a recent fundraiser. As reported in the Wall Street Journal and CNN, the Trump is considering relaxing federal restrictions on cannabis. The topic of reform came up during the $1 million plate dinner in New Jersey, and Trump acknowledged an interest in it. Gee, $1 million for a plate of dinner? Wow. Kim Rogers, CEO of multi-state cannabis operator Trulieve, apparently kickstarted the conversation. She reportedly encouraged Trump to reclassify cannabis and expand studies of the plant's medical benefits. According to the Wall Street Journal, Trump listened and said he was interested. We need to look at that, Trump said at the event. That's something we're going to look at. Now, Rivers was also reported to be at Trump's inauguration celebration and has the president's ear on the topic of cannabis. She recently said on stage at a major cannabis conference that she believes Trump will keep his campaign trail promises on cannabis. White House spokesman Abigail Jackson told the Wall Street Journal that cannabis reform is still on the table, but refrained from offering specifics. All policy and legal requirements and implications are being considered, she said. The only interest guiding the president's policy is what is the best interest in the American people. Now, at a White House press conference on Monday, Trump said, "We'll make a determination over the next few weeks with regard to reclassifying cannabis." However, he did not offer any further information on which way the administration may sway, adding, "Some people like it, some people hate it." Insider opinions on the president's position remain mixed. James Hagedorn, CEO of Scott's Miracle-Gro, said Trump has told him privately he plans to reclassify cannabis. However, former White House Press Secretary Sean Spicer recently said reform would not happen unless Senator Trump remains hazy. It appears the White House is at least discussing it. It remains to be seen how or if they will act, but with the midterms just around the corner, cannabis will likely be a hot topic. As far as I'm concerned, I don't know. Time will tell. But as I said at the end there, the midterms are coming up, and I can see cannabis being a big thing when it comes to shifting of votes. And I know it did here in Canada when Trudeau and the Liberals talked about legalizing. They were the third place party. And that following election, with promising it, they got a majority government. So going from third place to majority because of the cannabis end of things, obviously can make a difference. So I could see him and Trump getting that closer to election time, but reclassifying it to Schedule 3, which the Democrats were talking about, won't solve anything either as far as legalization or anything along that line. People would still need prescription. You still need a doctor in order to be able to go get your cannabis for medical purposes. It wouldn't be legalized for people just to go buy it at a store, just like you go buy tomatoes or anything else. So reclassifying it to Schedule 3, sure, it might help some businesses, but it doesn't help in the overall of the scheme of things. Some people say Schedule 5. Some people say just deschedule it, which is something that I know that I'm in favor of. And I'm sure that there are many others that would be in favor of that as well. All righty. From that, we're going to move on to the next story. And this one comes to me from Mugglehead Magazine. Headline says, Mexican Ibogaine clinic sees increasing number of veteran guests. Yep. Alongside psilocybin, Ibogaine is steadily becoming one of the most popular topics in the psychedelic space. New government-backed research initiatives, trailblazing studies, and an increasing number of successful treatment cases have made the natural psychoactive drug attracted unprecedented attention. As a result, retreat centers that facilitate Ibogaine therapy have also been attracting the spotlight to countries such as Costa Rica, Canada, and Mexico in particular. One notable therapy complex in Cancun has been pulling a lot of eyes in the media and receiving admiration for its work with veterans, first responders, people suffering from substance use disorders, mental health patients, and those seeking spiritual fulfillment. Now, Tom Fiegel, founder and CEO of Beyond Ibogaine Therapy Facility, was inspired to create a center after witnessing the profound impact Ibogaine had on a family member. But despite the transformative treatment, the way that the location where they received it operated was questionable in multiple regards. It says they had a shift in their brain chemistry, no longer wanting any chemicals or illicit drugs, Fiegel explained in an interview. They also had a new perspective on the pain of the past and meaningful insight with the purpose of their existence. Now, the California native says that the change he witnessed was one of the most incredible things he had ever observed. But the place they went 16 years ago was highly substandard. It had no clinical infrastructure, no therapeutic coaching, no real hospitality environment, he added. It was just not good. Long story short, Figo set out to make a top-notch retreat center capable of providing guests with a 5-star experience, and eventually Beyond was established in Quintana Roo in Mexico. Since its inception, Beyond has been featured in stories from major outlets like the Washington Post and Forbes. Most recently, the facility was the subject of a veteran-focused Fox News documentary on the profound impact of ibogaine therapy. Figo and his co-workers have been observing a steady increase in the number of veterans guests. Figo explained that the number of U.S. military service vets visiting the complex has been ascending ever since Kentucky proposed allocating $42 million to ibogaine research 2 years ago. He says that this was the very beginning, and it's just been a steady uptake of awareness and inquiries since that time. The increase has been significant. This proposal by the Kentucky Opioid Abutment Advisory Commission ultimately fell through due to leadership changes, debates over resource allocation. But last month, Texas solidified its position as a natural leader by agreeing to invest even more into ibogaine development trials. The aim of the $50 million initiative is to combat PTSD, addiction, and traumatic brain injuries. Former Lone Star State Governor and American Secretary of Energy Rick Perry is a prominent Texan politician who has been very vocal about the necessity of ibogaine for veterans. He has personal experience using the psychedelic too. He says it was literally giving people their lives back. Moreover, the Navy SEAL veteran credited with killing Osama bin Laden described last month how the natural medicine had been a life changer for him. Like Perry and those in Texas, Robert O'Neill thinks U.S. veterans should be entitled to receive ibogaine treatment. Furthermore, a study completed by Stanford University last year regarding the impact of ibogaine on veterans at a Mexican clinic is an additional key factor that has been drawing interest in the military community. They received the therapy at another facility run by MBO Life Science in Rosetta, Baja California Peninsula. Despite the positive results, many veterans have gotten from the psychedelic Mexican retreats are expensive. This is a concern for those who may be suffering and seeking help, but lack the resources to make the trip possible. Generally speaking, the average cost for a 5 to 10 day program is about $9,200 US. Wow. We have 11 full-time doctors, 23 ICU certified nurses, and 9 full-time therapeutic coaches. Figo highlighted, explaining what makes running one of these facilities so expensive. Additionally, unlike other psychedelics that require less oversight, ibogaine could potentially be dangerous when it isn't administered with the utmost care due to its specific dosing requirements and effect on the patient's heart. To make ibogaine treatment more accessible to those who need it most, Beyond has been offering the therapeutic therapy to veterans, first responders, and their spouses at no cost through a program called Beyond Service. It's an extensive healing workshop lasting 9 weeks. It's very expensive to do, but we feel like it's the right thing to do, Figo highlighted, and it's very meaningful for our professional staff to be part of that. Figo says the outcomes for the TBI patients at Beyond has been exceptional. for veterans particularly, but also for many ordinary people, athletes, etc. The special ops veteran participants of Stanford's recent investigation, published in Nature Medicine and Nature Mental Health, all reported immense reductions in the post-head trauma symptoms as a result of the treatment. 86% of them returned to pre-TBI levels of cognition, while reporting on an average reduction in PTSD symptoms of 88% and a drop in depression by 87%. Beyond has also been seeing an increased number of patients who have been negatively impacted by contact sports, football, skiing, and other risky activities. More and more people are coming who are civilians who have had traumatic brain injuries in the civilian life, he explains. They see a radical reduction in symptom levels post-treatment, Fiegel added. They have better cognitive reality, improved focus, and superior emotional regulation. Ibogaine is currently a Schedule I drug in the United States. Should this change? Fiegel stated that Beyond would definitely consider setting up additional retreat centers north of Cancun. He says, I certainly hope that President Donald Trump and RFK Jr. could help to reschedule Ibogaine. It would significantly reduce the barriers to research in the United States. Certain states like Colorado, which have begun administering psilocybin in clinical settings after passing legislation to do so, already have Ibogaine in their line of sight. Regulated treatment with the psychoactive therapy in the state could potentially begin or become a reality by the end of 2026. Fiegel says that we are following the policy changes and the individual policy makers in Colorado very, very closely. Beyond or sources, it's Ibogaine sourced Volcanigan Africa plant. The team at the facility say that it is a superior option to obtaining the alkaloid from the more renowned Tabernath iboga shrub. Now, the shrub is not suitable to source from, and Beyond feels ethically that it should be left to the Gabonese locals, according to a representative from the company. The majority of the world's ibogaine centers are located in Mexico due to its legal status there and proximity to the U.S. Aside from Beyond and Abio Life Sciences, notable facilities in the country include the Genesis Ibogaine Institute, the Experience Ibogaine Treatment Center, and Casa Santa Isabel. So there you go. Ibogaine. You know, it's been in the news on and off for years. I can remember when I first got involved in the cannabis community over 20 years ago, that people were talking about Ibogaine back then and how it is helping people get off of the hard drugs. So it's good to see that there's some states and some places that are putting some money into research. Yeah, let's get that research done. And who knows? Like, we got this big opioid epidemic going on here in North America. If Ibogaine can help, why not? Right? So, okay, going to move on to the next story. And this one is coming to me from the International Cannabis Business National Business Conference. I think I've got to hit a button here. Here we go. And the headline on it says that draft bill would allow adult use cannabis activity in Grenada. Hey, another country, gotta like that. A majority of governments around the world have modernized their cannabis laws and regulations in recent years as they pertain to medical cannabis activity to varying degrees. Some governments have comprehensively overhauled their medical cannabis public policies to permit robust commerce involving a wide array of products, while others have made more limited changes to permit hemp-derived product sales to patients experiencing a narrow set of qualifying conditions. Adult use cannabis policy modernization is rare among the globe right now compared to medical cannabis reform, but momentum for recreational cannabis legalization is increasing with every passing year. Grenada, an island nation located in the Caribbean, is a country where lawmakers are pursuing adult use cannabis reform. And I'm seeing it in more and more countries all the time. We're reporting it here. More countries are looking at this. Agricultural Minister Lennox Andrews has confirmed that the proposed amendment to the Drug Act, which will decriminalize cannabis for recreational and religious use, will prohibit people under the age of 21 from being in possession and using cannabis, according to the report. According to the administration, it says that this is a fundamental difference to the bill that was laid in the House in 2021 by the previous New National Party administration. That bill was laid for first reading and did not receive parliamentary approval because of the June 2022 general election. It allowed anyone over 18 to have 28 grams or equivalency, basically an ounce, of cannabis, and allowed each homeowner over the age of 18 to grow no more than 5 trees, not plants, trees. Cannabis is currently legal for adult use at a national level in Uruguay, Canada, Malta, Luxembourg, Germany, and South Africa. Lawmakers in the Czech Republic approved a national recreational cannabis legalization measure earlier this year, with the law set to take effect January the 21st, 2026. I just want to back up a bit. It says that each homeowner over the age of 18 can grow 5 trees. I guess that just is, I'm wondering if that homeowner would just be one person within, or if you both your names are on, spouse and their partner are both on that homeowner's name, that mean they'd be able to grow 10 plants? Maybe. Who knows? I don't know. Now, Uruguay became the first country to legalize cannabis for adult use at a national level back in 2023 and set the legal age to 18 years of age. Canada set the federal age limit to 18 when it adopted national legalization in late 2018, although most individual jurisdictions in Canada have raised the local age limit to 19 or 21 years of age. Yeah, it is here in Ontario, it's 19. Now, Malta, Luxembourg, Germany, and South Africa have all set their legal age limits to 18, and Czechia will have a legal age limit of 21 once this law takes effect. Excuse me. So, yeah, there we go. Another country that's legalizing, and that is, it just keeps growing. So, keep talking, keep putting out the research, keep putting out the news, the information, and that will spread. And that's the way we've been doing it for years. Keep talking, right? So, all right, on to my last story of the day. This is coming to me from, let me see, newscientist.com. Headlines say psychedelic drug ibogaine may treat PTSD by slowing brain waves. The psychedelic drug ibogaine slows down the brain waves of people with traumatic brain injury, which may explain why it alleviates symptoms of post-traumatic stress disorder, or injury, as we like to call it here. Looks like this is a subscription. Now, last year, a study found that ibogaine, a psychedelic substance derived from the African iboga plant, significantly improved mental and physical health in military veterans with the traumatic brain injury, but it wasn't clear how the drug produced these effects. And I talked about that in an earlier story, and as you can see, I don't have a subscription to this, so I can't go any further on that. But that happens. I'm sure I've read one of their stories in the past, and that's why I thought it'd be good. I didn't get through the whole story, obviously, when I looked at it earlier, but yeah, good news on the headline there. And let's hope that things keep growing as far as the research, and something can be done about this, and we can get out there and help patients. So, all righty, that's it, folks. That's all 8 stories today. That's news for everything else. Anything, if you've got any news stories you want to get to us, just send them to us at Psychedelics and Cannabis Educational News, and we'll make sure that we get to them. Other than that, thanks for tuning in. Thanks to our buds at the Campbellford Lifestyle Shop, At-Eze.ca, and Limestone City Hydroponics. And don't forget to educate, medicate, and do not encourage.
You're listening to the Pace Radio Network here at paceradio.net.
The opinions of the individuals during this broadcast are their own, and may not be the opinions of their group or other organizations they may be involved with. All medical advice during our broadcast is not a medical opinion and should be checked with your medical physician.
Enjoy the buzz of legalization with Campbellford Lifestyle Shop. From lights to plant nutrients, books, consumption accessories, and more, we've got all your basics to grow or consume cannabis. Visit our info center or take a look at our piercing services and body jewelry, now available in-store through Campbellford Lifestyle Shop, 17 Bridge Street West, Campbellford.
Limestone City Hydroponics is Kingston, Ontario's hydroponics shop. Take your growing to the next level and create the optimal environment with a tent kit, or maximize your yield with an ebb and flow flood table kit. Either way, Limestone City Hydroponics has more sizes and options to fit your needs. Are you looking for the power of the sun that adapts to your budget? Then look no further, as they have professional grow lighting. They have indoor grow systems that are easy and cost effective, with many options to fit your living space and lifestyle. Cultivate your growing potential. We have everything you need to succeed. And if you can't make it to the store, they offer local delivery to the greater Kingston area. Remember, when you're looking for experts to help you grow, then look no further than the locally owned Limestone City Hydroponics, 105 Sunderland Drive in Kingston, Ontario. Call them at 613-548-0420.
We are people advocating cannabis education here at paceradio.net.